The Enterprise is a delivery truck for a penal colony. And boy, did we miss a really great Christmas party. Dagger the Mine is next.
Hi, I'm Chip Kocel. This is
John Whitney, how you doing?
And this is Edith Keeler's Edge of Forever Bar and Grill. Welcome aboard. The bar's open, John.
Before we get started, I just want to let you know that today is actually the day we're taping is William Shatner's, 90th birthday?
93rd.
93rd birthday.
93rd birthday.
So happy birthday, William Shatner.
Yeah, William Shatner's 93rd trip around the sun.
Yeah, we remember that. So moving on.
Yes.
So happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
Sincerely.
birthday, William Shatner. Comment and like us below.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the bar's open. What do we have today? At the
Elijah
Bar and
Craig,
Grill?
rye.
Oh, rye. Nice.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Want me to crack it?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know much about Elijah Craig. I know that it's made out of Bardstown, Kentucky, I think is the name of the town. Yeah. And they have a bunch of different expressions.
Yeah.
And this one is rye. I don't think I've ever had the rye before. I've had a lot of the product, but I've never had this product, I think.
I've had some Elijah Craig before, but not rye.
No.
My wife usually picks me up stuff every
Yeah.
once in a while, just because she's nice that way.
That's a good wife.
Yeah.
That's a good
I hardly ever buy myself whiskey.
This episode is from season 1, and this is episode number 9.
Right.
Number 10 for us because we started with the original pilot, but it's called Dagger of the Mind. And what happens is we pick up and the Enterprise is pulling into orbit around Catalyst 3, I think, is a penal colony.
Oh, shoot.
And they're dropping off some stuff.
Yeah, I didn't write that down, what the actual name was. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it was Catalyst 3 or 4
okay.
or 5. Could be 5.
It's a penal colony.
4 or 5,
Yeah.
What's it?
Whatever it takes. They beam down some supplies. We get to see a close-up of the supplies that they're beaming down.
Yeah, but Kirk's all cocky. He kind of walks in, and the technicians are having trouble beaming stuff down. He's like, oh, gentlemen.
Yes, we've forgotten your procedures about beaming down onto a penal colony. There's a force field set up.
And the guy says, force field, duh.
Yeah.
A force field. So he calls down and they clear the force field and they beam down all the equipment. And then he asks, is there anything coming up? And he goes, and they said, I think there's some kind of a shipment coming up from some scientific equipment or something.
Yeah.
And so they beam up this big blue box that has fragile. No, it says like, do not open, scientific equipment or something on it.
Yeah.
Really, really big. I wonder what's inside.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty funny. And then then Kirk's like, hey, so brush up on your procedures and go ahead and put that in storage meantime.
Yeah.
And he walks out. I read originally Scotty was supposed to be the one operating the transporter. Maybe he was teaching the lesson, Scotty. But they decided to have this other dude do it because Scotty would have costed them more money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's still
$8,300 in 2023 dollars. But so back then, so the guy that did all those lines got paid scale basically.
So they were already penny pinching back then.
Oh, yeah.
Season 1,
yeah.
For God's sakes. Okay, so one guy says, "Yeah, I'll get right on it," and then the other guy kind of turns his back to the transporter. Meanwhile, the lid opens, and it's some sweaty, gray-haired guy.
Yes, really awful looking guy.
Yeah, and he just kind of creeps out of the box and he starts kind of tiptoeing behind the guy, and all of a sudden, judo chop! He hits him right in the neck, and the guy falls down.
Yep.
And then that is it to commercial at that point? No, that's to the opening.
It's to the opening credits.
Yeah, my notes say judo chop and then open.
Yeah, there you go. The actor is Morgan Woodward, and he plays the character that we find out is Dr. Van Gelder. So we go to a commercial. They're on the bridge. They're obviously they've left orbit. And they don't know that they have a...
They're on their way away. So he has the captain's log saying, we've dropped off the stuff, we've gotten this, and we did not go down to the surface.
That's right, yeah. He goes, I wish I could have met Dr. Van Gelder. Kind of like how he wanted to meet that robot guy who was Christine Chapel's fiance. So yeah, basically same kind of plot line where I wish I could have met this genius, you know.
Yeah, and then McCoy's like it's still a cage.
Yeah, because he's like reformed criminal justice system. They're more like resorts now.
Yeah, ho, that's so old school.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
We're in the transporter room, right? I think
Yeah.
he's changed into the red outfit.
To a red jumper instead of a blue jumper, which clearly indicates he's a prisoner, the blue one.
Right.
And the red one is like he's an ensign or something.
Yeah. So we're in the hallway, right? And we see some people walking by, and all of a sudden he pops into frame. He's all sweaty and stuff. My question
has
is,
crazy look in his eyes.
Yeah, my question is, if you saw a guy in an engineer's uniform that was really super sweaty, had crazy white hair, wouldn't you notice him? I would notice him.
Yeah.
So, but somebody did notice him.
Yeah, is that the Teamster guy?
It was our favorite Teamster.
Yes.
This time in a gold shirt.
Yeah, and he like gets on and talks to Uhura. Hey, we found the prisoners here, kind of, or not, whatever.
And then Kirk calls the colony, right? And he talks to who?
Dr. Adams. Adams says that he's clever and violent. Be careful. He's clever and violent.
Watch out for him. So he goes, okay, we'll look around, and he hangs up, and he leaves, right?
Right.
Kirk leaves, and then McCoy goes over to Spock, and Spock says, "This is probably this is the best line in the entire thing, because I'm anti-war, and I also think there should be I think that the jail system, the prison system needs to be reformed."
Oh yeah. I
Anyway,
agree there.
so he says, "Your people glorify organized violence for 40 centuries, but you imprison those who employ it privately." McCoy says something like, "Oh yeah, do you guys have something better?" And then Spock is like, "Well, without emotion, there is no reason to kill."
Yeah. Spock pulls out that
Something
old
like
Vulcan adage.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, you hear the doors open, they swing their heads, and the crazy guy
Yes.
comes in and judo chops for the second judo chop.
It's Dr. Van Gillard. He goes, "I want asylum. Which one of you is the captain?"
I know. I forgot. Kirk didn't leave. He left them.
Yeah, he left the
McCoy.
frame.
He just kind of like walked up to go sign some paperwork or something.
Yeah,
probably.
he left the frame.
He left the frame, and he's like, he's going, "Give me the weapon."
Yeah, and he goes, "No deals.
Yeah.
No deals." And so he wants asylum, unconditional asylum, and he's going to blow the piano. Meantime, Spock is lurking, crawling up.
And Kirk is like, "I can't guarantee you that," but then he gives like this really, really like, "I'm looking that way.
Yeah, it's like
Look over there."
Yeah, like you can't like this. Even a crazy guy could see that he was looking a squirrel. You know, it's like crazy.
Yeah. And Gilder like turns and Spock jumps on him and
And Kirk like kicks not only judo chops, has perfected the judo chop, but the judo kick. He kicks
he does.
the phaser right out of his hand.
Yeah, and
crazy.
And Spock gives him the Vulcan nerve pinch.
Yes. Which is now canon, I guess.
I guess so. That's like the third time I think we've seen it so far. And then they tell him to take him away to the
sick bay.
sick bay.
Yeah, and meantime, cut to Bones at sickbay. He's like observing him. He's like, "I really want to study him." You know, he wants to study this guy because he's so fascinated with what he's saying.
Right.
You know? Here we start the eccentric performance of the actor playing Dr. Van Gilder.
That's right. I feel like he kind of is acting the performance. Maybe the one note that was given to him was, "Act like you're really constipated on the toilet."
He's like, he can't. I can see where he's like coming up to a point where he's like, because if he was hypnotized, he causes great pain. So he was probably told, "Hey, you'll get great pain." Oh, cheers! I haven't had a sip yet.
Yeah, okay.
You'll get great pain
Yes.
if you mention your name. So he's like, "I'm Doctor."
Right. You can't get through it.
Yeah, it's like constipated. And I read the actor. It took him like 2-3 weeks to snap out of it. He was like really in a funk afterwards.
Oh, so he's like a method guy.
Yeah, he was like totally into this thing.
Okay.
And he went on to be in the show in the episode Omega Glory. So
That's right.
We'll reference that later when we get to Omega Glory.
That's the one. It's like the alternate kind of Earth with the cave guys going,
Freedom.
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 Yes,
It is a secret word.
freedom.
Yeah, you. These 3 words. We the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna
Anyway,
get
back
that
to
later
this
on.
one. We'll get to that one later. But so he's giving this performance. He's like he's talking up to the point where like this is what happened, but he stopped. And this is what happened, but he stopped. And Bones is like, see, he's kind of crazy, but yet somehow he makes sense. You know, we have to study him. We can't just get there. We got to study him.
Starts to make sense. He gets derailed or something like that.
Yeah. And then
he's trying to figure it out. So we're back on the bridge, and Scott and Kirk and Spock and Kirk walks up to him and he goes, "So, what you looking at?" You know, basically.
Yeah.
And he reveals that there are some ID tapes.
Yeah.
About Dr.
Van Gelder.
Yeah. He's a doctor. He's like,
he goes, well, he was assigned there as an administrator.
Yeah, as an administrator. What? Yeah. So it's like this guy's legit.
Yeah, he is a colleague of Dr. Adams, not a.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like freaking, like, okay, what's going on here?
So he goes to call Dr. Adams to kind of see what the deal is.
Yeah, what the hubbub is, bub.
Yeah. So he calls him, and it's almost like going, "Oh yeah, Dr. Gelder, how's he doing? I hope he's okay."
Yeah, and that's how he like responds. And before Kirk can say anything, he's getting ahead of it.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? He's like, "Oh yeah, hi Kirk. Yeah, how is Dr. Van Gelder? Be careful. Did he hurt anyone? I hope he didn't hurt anyone." Poor thing about that accident he had.
That's right. No casualties.
Yeah. Oh man, that you could totally tell the writing was like, he's like jumping ahead. Everything that Kirk was suspected, he addressed right away.
Yeah,
you know?
And then McCoy he gets on the bridge and he kind of knows that he's talking to Dr. Adams, and he kind of saddles up to Kirk and says, it doesn't ring true.
Yeah. And he puts him on hold.
Puts him on hold. Is what are you talking about?
Right.
And then he says, because he doesn't want to do anything. He's like basically saying, Dr. Adams is renowned in the universe. He's done so much for the last 20 years for psychiatric care of prisoners. They're treating that they're mentally unstable, not as criminals and all this stuff. And he said, but so he still thinks something's up, and he says, "I'm required to enter any reasonable doubts into my medical logs, and that requires you to answer."
Yeah. And so he's like, "You got me, Bones."
Yeah.
And he's almost like, sorry, Jim.
Yeah, he's like, he did say sorry, Jim. Right?
Sorry, Jim, but
Yeah,
now it's your ball in your court.
No shit. After the whole thing about you have to answer to it, he goes over and he talks to Adams and he says, "Okay."
And Dr. Adams is embarrassing, but as per Starfleet formality, regulations, I've got to come down and do a little investigation just to tidy up the paperwork.
And he's like, "Come on down. Actually, you'd be doing me a favor."
Yeah, it'd be great to have some visitors. We don't get any visitors here. But do me a favor, like you did back on that robot planet, just have a few people like yourself and maybe one other person come down, just like on that robot planet where everybody died. So
the little girls are made of.
Where little girls are.
Yes.
So he's like, "Okay, sounds great."
Okay, they hang up, and then Kirk says, tells McCoy to find someone qualified to come with him.
Yeah, find someone qualified in psychology and rehabilitation.
And that's code for "not you."
Yeah, exactly.
And I think McCoy's like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah.
And I think McCoy kind of gives him a look like, "Okay, I'm not going. Okay, watch out. I'm about to mess with you right now. I know exactly who I'm going to put into your face."
Yeah.
That's right.
I know. I don't know if I agree with you, but I think it's a hilarious premise.
I don't know. I think he knew. So we go to break.
Yeah.
And then we come back and we're on the bridge and he talks to Dr. McCoy. And he's like, "How's Dr. whatever?" And he's like, he's really agitated and there's
that's right. Yeah.
We're gonna keep him here while you're down at the surface.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you find something for me?" And he goes, "Yes, Dr. Noel."
Oh, that's right, because Bones is on the screen.
Which doesn't register with Kirk, right? He's like, "Oh, okay, Dr. Noel." Okay,
he doesn't know this person.
But she's down at the transporter room waiting for you. So they go down the transporter room.
Him and Spock.
Yes, and they walk in, and all of a sudden...
And there's this beautiful woman on the transporter, Dr. Helen Noel, and they recognize each other right away. He stops, and she's like, "We've met before, Captain."
Yeah, and Spock is just like going...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, the science lab Christmas party.
Yeah, and Spock is like, "I remember that party." You see his face, he remembers that party.
Yeah.
He knows what went down. So that brings to the question... Did they bang? Mm-hmm. Did they bang?
Did they bang?
I don't know. It's hard because I'm a little confused with something that happens later on in the show.
Yeah.
But my first instinct was, hell yeah, they did.
Yeah, mine too.
That's why he's acting so weird.
I know he's maybe they were both drunk and he acted inappropriately, and that's why he's kind of taken aback.
Maybe. What's the actress's name?
Mariana Hill is her name. Played a Helen Noel.
Helen Noel, which is weird because she's Dr. Noel, and they met at the Christmas party.
Yes, and that was.
Isn't Noel like Christmas or something?
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Yeah. So isn't that funny?
Kirk. Well, before they had a name for her, Kirk suggested to Roddenberry that they call her Mary Noel.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty.
That would have been crazy.
That's too clever.
Yeah.
I'm glad they said Noel.
Helen Noel.
Helen Noel. Okay, so she's like, oh, do you remember the Christmas party? He's like, oh,
yeah. It's like, yes, I got it. She's like, he's cutting her off, and then he exits the transporter, stands next to Mr. Spock, and says, "You better tell Bones that this better be the best assistant I've ever had." And then gets back on the transporter.
All right, gets back, and then they're beamed down.
They beam down to the surface, and there's this nice, in the version we saw, beautiful establishing shot with the rings of them, and the whatever the structure is. It's a really cool shot.
And you said maybe they had reused that background painting for Where No Man Has Gone Before?
Yeah, that's what I read, that they, in that like industrial oil tanker looking place.
Oh, okay.
That painting, they reused that because it was cheaper to just paint out the other oil. They're already cutting back on the budget, like you said. So.
Yeah, right. So they beam down the surface, right? And then
they step into an elevator.
They step forward, but she's like acting really weird. She's like, kind of like, you can call me. You can call me.
You can call me Helen.
Because another place, another time.
Yeah.
Not the right place.
Not the right place, yeoman.
So they hop into the elevator, and all of a sudden the elevator just goes down fast, and suddenly they're hugging each other.
Yeah, he grabs her and hugs her like, they're hugging.
Yeah. I think there's something there, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think there's something there.
Well, they get to the bottom of the elevator, boom, and the door opens, and there's Dr. Adams. Is that his name? Yeah.
Dr. Adams. And the actor's name is what? James Gregory.
James Gregory, yeah. He's been on Barney Miller and all these other things.
In Planet of the Apes, he played the general, the gorilla general. In Planet of the Apes.
That's what you told me that. I couldn't remember that.
It's his voice, if you remember the voice. It's very distinct.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Barney Miller, Captain, that guy.
Yeah, he was like
that's his voice.
He was the guy who hated Barney Miller.
Yeah, that's right.
He kind of hated him. Okay, so they come down, actually in his living room. I don't know. He's like, let's pour some drinks because I want to celebrate. We don't get many people here.
Yeah.
And while he's pouring, this woman walks in.
Yeah, and he introduces her as Letha.
Yeah, Letha. And he's like, she used to be a patient here, and she's gotten better, and now she's one of our top psychologists or whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, I like my job. And what does Letha mean?
Oh, Letha is from the Greek mythology of drinking from the river Thames.
Thames? In England?
Drinking.
You probably get dysentery if you did that.
Drinking from the river Styx, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. Where if you drink from the river, then you forget all of your past lives.
Ah.
Yeah. And she even says that. She says, it doesn't matter what my crime was. She doesn't even remember.
Yeah, she goes, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool play on knowing that.
Yeah.
The name Letha means that.
They toast.
Yeah.
And he gives this weird toast. It's like going, to all of mankind. Blah, 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 blah. It's just like this, when I was listening to it, I'm just like going, this guy is he's putting something over on these folks.
Yeah. It is bad. It was like a weird wedding toast almost.
I know, it was really.
Like to the people who know no glory, but share all love. It's like, may there be happiness and joy. It's like, this is weird toast,
and
right?
Letha's rolling her eyes because she's probably heard that toast about 20 times.
Yeah, it's like, here we go again.
Every time somebody comes over, it's the same toast.
First it's the mailman, now it's this guy, Kirk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They toast, and he wants to, he's going to give him a tour.
Oh, right.
And they're walking around, and they're seeing people working. I see some guy with a phaser, even though he told, just hide your phaser, it'll be fine. But this guy had a phaser on his belt.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Oh,
was
cool.
Weird.
Good detail, John.
He's like looking into the room. Kirk is like, what's this?
Yeah, they're passing the rules. Oh, it's nothing, a failed experiment. You know,
Right.
some kind of thing like that. You know?
He said, well, I'd like to see it. And then what's her name? Is
Helen's
like,
like, oh, yeah, if he says it's nothing, Captain, then... And then,
oh, I think you've lost this one. I think you're fighting above your below your weight. Above your weight, or something like that. She keeps getting. He's kind of an asshole. He keeps cutting her off. So now we go up to the
yes.
to the
And
ship.
Bones Bones is talking to Dr. Van Gelder, who's eccentric performance, and he has this weird thing where he's such big.
He's like neurostimulator.
Stimulator.
And Spock is like neurostimulator.
Neurostimulator.
What? Explain.
Yeah, and they had cut just when the Dr. Adams was saying, "Oh, that's the neurostimulator. There's a failed experiment.
Yeah,
It's harmless. We're not going to use it."
Then we cut into him screaming about
Neurostimulator.
the neurostimulator. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then so Spock is like, what is that? You know, and he's like trying to fight to get it out.
Yeah,
And he can't. There's the room. What happens there? The doctor tries, but it's blocked or something like that. Now we're back downstairs. Down
Right,
on
we
the
keep
planet.
cutting back and forth now because
Right.
now they're going to talk to each other, I think.
Yeah, and
right?
the doctor's like, we don't really use it much at all.
Yeah, he's dismissing it.
Yeah, basically, you know, like there's nothing to this. Moving on.
Yeah.
know?
And he goes, but you never said where he had his accident, where Dr. Randy goes, oh, yeah, I was here. This was where
Yeah,
he had
happened
the
right
accident.
here. He needed to have somebody with him. He didn't want to try it on people where he hadn't tried it himself, but he did it alone. And then he's like, oh, let's get out of here. And he's like, well, I want to see how it works. And he goes up to the guy and he says, so how does this work?
Yeah, and so the guy is just standing there, like, this is the on switch, this is the off switch, this is the level.
Yeah, it's like really,
Low.
it's
just weird.
it's big like
Big-
kindergarten knobs.
Yeah.
No, I thought he kind of was satisfied with how it worked.
Yeah.
And he thanked him for showing it to him. He and Kirk leaves.
Yes,
And then there was
that's
somebody
right.
sitting there in the chair.
Yes.
And the guy basically starts cranking up the speed on this thing.
That's
and
right.
he's
Yeah,
like
you're
going,
right.
you will forget all you have heard. As in you forget everything that they were talking about.
Right. And to remember would give you great pain. And then the guy starts going,
Yeah. Pain. Terrible pain.
terrible pain.
Yes.
So that's how they're controlling. That's what they did to Van Gelder. Mm-hmm. That's why Van Gelder only gets to a point he can't talk anymore.
Yeah. So now we're back on the ship, right?
Yes. Spock is calling down and saying, "Hey, Captain,
Some questions.
you have some. We have to talk to you about what's going on with Dr. Van Gelder. You mentioned this machine, and he's like, yeah, I'm here with the doctor, and he says, yeah, that's where he had his accident and where he kind of freaked out.
I think Van Gelder actually clicked some button behind him to cut him off.
Yeah.
Because Kirk started playing with his communicator.
There you go.
As if something was wrong. And he said, I'm going to leave you guys, so you can talk to your, second command. I have to check on some people.
Yeah.
anyway."
Feel
So-
free to speak freely.
Yeah, he leaves the room.
Yeah.
And then, so he goes, okay, he's out of the room. So what's going on? Right?
Yeah.
For some reason, he thinks that you're in danger. And he's trying to warn you that you're in danger. And then he goes, I think we're going to spend the night.
Yeah. And then Van Gelder's like, no, don't spend the night. Ah!
No, he's okay. I guess you're going to spend the night.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
keep checking in with us, though, right? And he goes,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
And he hangs up. They all hang up. And
That's right.
They're still up there. And they ask him, they ask him about, Dr. Ad. He doesn't want to be drugged again.
Right.
Because I'll be cool. Don't worry.
Yeah.
about
He's like, no more hypo spray.
it. No high school stroke. He goes. Dr. Adams will destroy.
Yeah.
And
We'll
then-
destroy. And then he's trying to get out what he's going to destroy.
Yeah, and Spock is like, how? And he's like, by death or something. Like
Yeah, we couldn't figure it out because
Yeah.
John didn't have the subtitles on, so
No, it's not like by death or by something.
yeah, and then it goes to a break,
Yes.
and this is where Spock talks about doing a Vulcan procedure. He doesn't call it a mind meld,
No.
but this is essentially the first mind meld. And from this moment on, they develop the dialogue that explains it, but they don't really have it locked down yet.
He said he's never done this to a human before.
Yeah, and it's a very personal thing, Doctor.
Will it work or not? So he's like, oh, stand back. And then he goes over there and he starts, he says, listen, don't worry about it, doctor. Only who I touch is affected.
He goes, it's not hypnosis or something like that.
Yes,
Like,
so you're completely safe.
so you're completely safe, yeah.
And
Because
McCoy, like a robot, says, I understand.
like he's hypnotized, which
Yeah,
is
it's
so
really weird,
hilarious. Yeah.
So he starts performing they mind meld.
Yeah. And in the script, they originally had him touching his stomach for some reason, but I think maybe Leonard Nimoy said, "Let's have the head area touched."
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
It'd be weird hanging out by.
So yeah, Spock is, maneuvering around him, mind melding with him.
Yeah, he's trying to get some information out of him.
Yeah. Now we go back down to the surface. Now it's nighttime, and Kirk comes into Noelle's room, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" kind of thing.
Yeah, really.
Like, gee,
it acts like she can...
another Christmas party incident, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's and she goes, "This could have waited till tomorrow." He goes, "No, it couldn't.
Yeah.
Couldn't. We got to do this
Gotta
now."
go now.
Yeah. And she goes, "Well, Dr. Van Gelder going to answer all your questions." She's defending him, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, but if he's lying, he's going to be telling me lies now. Like,
Yeah.
we got to go in. Let's go to there and test it out." Kind of thing,
Yeah, he leaves. He says, "You coming?" And she goes, "All right, I'm coming." We're back to sick bay.
Yes.
And the mind meld is still happening.
Yeah, and they're deep in because now Spock's like, "Who are we?" So now they are one.
What did he do to us? He's like, any thoughts that he puts into me are his thoughts.
That's right. He said, "Yeah, they erased his memory and put all of Dr. Adams' thoughts into our heads."
It's like a form of brainwashing. I think.
Yeah.
A form of brainwashing.
And then now Kirk is in the chair. This is the scene, right?
Yes.
Kirk is in the chair, and he's like, "Just test it out in really low setting." And so she goes, "Okay, I will."
Just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, just for a couple of seconds. I'll put it on the lowest setting, and she hits the button. Previously, you pointed this out, John.
Yeah, he's like,
She's
"You
like-
know anything about this?" He goes, "I am not about this technology. It's similar about
Yeah, I've seen
not this
something."
technology.
Yeah, but then she's
Suddenly
like, "Yeah, I can go ahead and do it."
I'll operate it, my captain. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Get on the chair.
Yeah, and so she has it on the lowest setting, hits it for a few seconds, and Kirk's mind goes blank for a second. And then he's like, "Anytime, doctor, let's get this over with," kind of thing. And she's like, "I just did
it. But
Yeah.
just for a couple of seconds, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And what does he say after that? He goes, "Okay, let's do something."
Yeah, just give me a harmless suggestion." And so she does it again, and she's like,
You're
You're
hungry.
hungry. Yeah.
You're hungry.
You're hungry. And it comes back and goes, "When we're done with this, I feel like we got to raid a kitchen somewhere."
Yeah.
Like in the future, kitchens are awesome. And she's like, "I put that thought in your head. Holy shit, this is incredibly effective."
It's like, okay, do one more that it's very unique that we know that's weird.
Yeah, that only the two of us are familiar with.
Right.
The Christmas party.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
So she turns it on and says, "You remember that Christmas party? You were so polite and talking about the stars, and we had a drink. And I suggested it happen this way." And then you close in on Kirk.
It's
and
like this fantasy that she's got. I
Yeah.
think this is her fantasy.
Yeah, it's her fantasy. She swept off her feet, and he takes her into a room, and she's like, "Oh, Captain, the crew's gonna see you carrying me around."
Okay, by the crew.
Yeah, and he goes, "My crew's sworn to secrecy."
I know, it's like very Harlequin romance.
Yeah, and he goes, "Well, I would feel better if you had some feelings towards me. This isn't right."
Yeah,
He's
it's
like,
very like-
"Would you rather I lie to you?"
That's right.
And she goes, "No, I'd rather you tell me the truth." And then they kiss.
I know, like very
Full on.
passionately.
Very
And
passionate.
then Spock walks in, and then no, he doesn't.
That's Spock walks in. Illogical.
He's always cock blocking. Kirk.
It's like, "Spock! Spock!" So then all of a sudden, boom, Dr. Van Gelder grabs her and pulls her away.
Yeah, the zombie
That means
assistant.
Dr. Adams.
Yeah.
And the zombie assistant, yes.
That's right. And he goes, "Oh, Captain Kirk, I'm
he's
going
gonna
to
get
show you the full force of this so you know exactly what this is about," or something like that.
Yeah, and he goes, "You are in love with her. You so deeply in love with her. You would do anything for her. You love Helen.
You love her for years.
Years and years.
And
you
he
loved
keeps
her."
repeating it back. Yes, I've loved her for years. I love her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says,
And he goes, "Drop your phaser."
"Drop your phaser."
Tell him to drop his phaser. So he
like,
whips out his phaser and he drops it.
But phaser, and he drops on the ground. And now he wants him to drop his communicator.
Yeah.
And of course, he tries to contact the ship.
Yeah, in true Kirk fashion, he's like struggling and he opens up the communicator. He's like, "Kirk," he's
Yeah,
trying
he
to,
tries.
and then he drops it and collapses.
He
and
falls
goes
to the ground.
commercial.
Yeah, it goes to commercial. Helen is basically laying on top of Kirk in his bed, saying that, "You're back in your quarters. It's over now."
Yeah, it's over. He used his device on you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's like, she's like, "Do you remember?" He goes, "Yes, I remember. Helen, I've loved you for years."
That's a
Does he try
doctor.
to catch her now? Does he try to kiss her?
Maybe a little bit, but she goes, "He put those in your brain, don't you remember?"
yeah.
And he kind of moans and
Yeah.
kind of
He falls off the bed. Yeah, he kind of falls off the bed. She's still on the bed and he's looking at her like, Helen. And he starts to approach her. And she gets up all confused and backs up against the wall, and he's going at her. And then he grabs the air duct vent thing. He's the whole time he's looking at the duct. He goes, "This is an air duct." He's like, tries to pry it. Help me with this. And so she pries open the air duct.
Open it up, and he's like, air conditioning. This is where the air conditioning goes.
Yes, and from this moment on, it's Die Hard in space because she is totally the McClane character in Die Hard.
He says you've got to crawl in there and try to find the power source.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
If you're not careful. Well, she goes, I don't know anything about it. Are you familiar
with electronic megavoltage?
Are you familiar with megavoltage? And she goes, no.
No, of course not. I'm a fucking doctor.
Yeah, we'll touch the wrong thing and I'll kill you.
She should have said I'm a doctor, not an electrician.
Yeah, that's what she should have said. Oh, man, that would have been great. Oh, if they only had that in there.
Anyway, so she goes, what do you say, it could kill you? And she goes, that's better than being in that booth. And
and she hops in.
She hops in and she's on her way to try to find it.
Yeah, she's crawling through some ducts. And this gives us it kind of makes me think that this part of the episode really encapsulates 1960s design aesthetic for air ducts. You know, there's no future considerations what they'll look like in the future. This is like a 1960s air duct for a movie or TV show.
A really big one. So as soon as he closes the vent, the doors open and he walks out. He's like going, "So I gotta have another treatment, huh?" And then he walks off with the two assistants.
Yeah, before they can see that Helen is gone.
Okay, so we go back to the booth. And Adams has got him on the chair, and he's trying to mess with him. He's basically brainwashing him.
And they're cutting between that and her crawling through the duct.
Yeah.
And she eventually ends up at the mega power room.
The unlocked power source with just got a bolt on it. It's not locked or anything. She unlocks it. She hears people coming. She closes it, and then these guards come in, and with very straight hair. They're very well coiffed. Anyway, they're looking around, they pass her, and she's around a corner or something, and she sneaks back, and she gets she opens it up, and she grabs to the top, where it's like on and off, and so she pulls down on it, and and then she's caught. Right.
By one of those guards. Now that guard, strangely, when he's given an order to the other guy by just pointing, saying, it's funny because not many people know this, but if he had a line that said, okay, you go over there, that would bump that actor's pay rate. He would get extra money for working. So if you notice on these shows, little bit players that don't speak, they're not speaking because they have to pay them to speak.
They're featured extras.
Yeah, they'd be featured extras, and they would. Yeah, so had that actor said, okay, you go that way, and I'm going to check this way, and he said anything like that, he'd get a bump in pay, and it would eat into their budget.
Yeah.
So isn't that funny though? Because you could tell that because it happens later when they're at the end of the show. They're people are moving around and pointing but not talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I thought that was interesting though. I wanted to bring that up with this, particularly this guy looked like a beach boy.
That's right.
So
she turns off the switch and the guy comes up on her, grabs her and tosses her to the ground, and she struggles. And he goes back to turn the power back on.
Yeah, and he does turn it on, right?
Yeah, and then comes back at her, and she's kind of feigning like she's knocked out or something, or really in pain. And she waits for him to get in position, and she kicks him right into the power source.
Yeah, and he knocks him, gets electrocuted.
Yeah, shorts everything out. And her job is done. She closes the door, and she freaking gets back into the ventilation shaft.
Yeah. Meantime, Spock has been trying to break through the force field. Yeah, he transports down.
Yeah, because the power just went out in that moment when she turned the power off. Basically, Helen got into the shaft, and maybe 20 seconds later, he beams down.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And then so he goes up. Spock goes up to this box, that has a sign above it. It's like force field or whatever, security field. And it's like a big black box with a itty bitty teeny weeny little padlock, and he smashes it open.
Yeah, with his bare hands, using Vulcan strength.
I guess.
Force field has been neutralized. Beam down a security team or something like that, right?
So McCoy's on the job.
Yeah. And then he throws a switch or something, and then the power comes back on.
And that's when that thing comes on.
And then that's when the chair thing comes on, and the doctor's laying on because he got karate chopped by Kirk.
Right.
He's laying there, and he's looking at the light getting drained.
And
You know.
Kirk finds Helena, right? And
Right, he goes back to his room.
and Helena's crawling in there.
He goes, Captain! Yeah, and he opens it up and pulls her out, and you think that's going to be like, oh, are you okay kind of thing? But no, he like grabs her passionately and starts kissing her. And she goes, no, Captain, no.
This is wrong.
This is wrong.
But it's kind of like, okay, her fantasy that she implanted into his brain,
Yeah.
I think she was kind of, he is forceful, but I think she was into it a little bit. Because she wasn't pushing him off.
Right.
She was just like, oh, this is wrong. And
Yeah,
all of a sudden Spock walks in.
And with this look.
He's like, oh boy.
That's just like the Christmas party, Captain.
Highly
illogical.
That's right. Spock has interruptus.
Spock is interrupted.
I don't know.
That'll be on a T-shirt.
Spock
That's great. Spock always interrupting him.
He's always doing stuff like
Damn,
that.
Spock. Oh, so this is the part where like all the security's down, everybody's being arrested, kind of thing, and that's where all the extras are not talking while they're rounding them up.
And Kirk is like, "Oh, Dr. Adams." And he runs into the booth area.
Yeah, turns off the machine, sees him laying there like a veggie.
Yeah,
well,
McCoy,
he's dead, right?
McCoy checks on him. He says, "He's dead, Captain."
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like going, "Oh man."
Yeah, and she's like, "It shouldn't have killed him."
Yeah, and
But-
he's like going, it sucked all of his memories out.
It makes me wonder what did Kirk go through, because it's like, does it induce loneliness, or are you?
I don't know.
Is it? I didn't get that part. It made me think though, like what is really going on? Especially the way Kirk looks at the end when he's on the bridge, you know.
Yeah, they're on the bridge. They're leaving, right?
Yeah. So it's like, he has this this look on his face, like he is either in pain because he knows what loneliness is, or because he is so in love with Helen still.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Like they didn't say that they cured him, but they intonated. Is that the word?
what were you gonna say? Okay.
They intonated
Yeah.
that Dr. Van Gelder was slightly healed because he had radioed that he had dismantled the machine.
Yeah, he's even on the machine. Don't worry about it. It's
Yeah,
not
so
gonna be
Dr. Van
used again.
Gelder is normal now. They must have fixed him somehow.
Yeah, and then McCoy says, it's hard to believe that a man can die from loneliness.
Yeah.
And Kirk is like, he says, not when you've sat down in that chair.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes me think, well, is the chair just a torture device like that way?
I don't know, but maybe it can open your mind to who you really are, or
Yeah.
things that you don't think about, like the things
Right.
you don't want to think about. And maybe his experience basically showed that he wishes he had room for somebody to love, but the only thing he has is the Enterprise.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
There's that. That's my thought.
That's a good thought. I like it. That totally works, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because, this device then becomes intense, technical, futuristic psychotherapy.
Yeah,
like
basically.
Like long-term, that people take years that go through psychotherapy. This machine did all that. So that's why he's like, if you sat in that chair, you
Yeah.
see some pretty dark shit.
Electronic lobotomy.
Yeah.
But what do we think about the episode?
Well, this was so new to me. Like, I want to see it again. I've only seen it twice.
Yeah.
Once earlier in the week, and then once with you tonight. And, I'd like to watch it again because this is one of those ones that I never saw again in reruns a lot.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this in like 10, 15, 30 years, something like that.
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy.
enjoyed it. I
you
thought
even
it was
said.
good. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Let me just.
I like that character of Helen, and I wish they had brought her back.
Yeah.
I did some research on the internet. People are saying that it was a Rand storyline. It could have easily been a Rand storyline. Then we pick up their friendship afterward. Will they or won't they?
Right.
And hang on. Had it gone that direction instead of the direction it did with Grace Lee Whitney. But I really liked that character, and she was just had a lot of energy about her. There's something about her eye. She's in a lot of movies and stuff. She was in an Elvis movie.
Yeah, she was cool. She was fine. I wish they could have figured out a way to use her. Yeah.
That would have been great to have her come back.
Yeah.
In a sequel to this episode or something.
All right, so thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah.
The next episode is going to be the Corbinite maneuver.
Oh my God! No way! That's one of my favorite.
And now some Tranya.
Yeah,
Some
That's
Tranya.
awesome.
Yeah. So the Corbinite maneuver is next.
Yes. Until then, the bar is closed.
That's right.
Good night, everybody.